Like Heraclitus before him, Parmenides is a philosopher whose thought has been maintained, in part, by fragments of written work. He's known for one work, a poem, which is split into three sections: a prologue, way of truth, and way of opinion. And as with Heraclitus, his written style is verbose, and as such, readings of his poem are apt to differ. One thing is for sure: Parmenides' impact on his successors, and as such philosophy in general, is huge. The poem pits Parmenides as the recipient of knowledge from a goddess, both true knowledge and the knowledge of mortals or humans, which is taken to be fallacious. Hence, the way of truth and the way of opinion. It's generally accepted that the way of truth is Parmenides' account of the nature of the cosmos, whilst the way of opinion is his critique of the other theories of philosophers of his time. One thing is for sure: the obscure nature of this poem makes it difficult to pin down exactly what Parmenides thinks. For the purposes of brevity, I'll lay out some of the interpretations in this video rather than spend too much time going through the poem line by line. Some readers think of Parmenides as the polar opposite of Heraclitus, a monist still, but one who thinks that change and plurality are illusory. What is real and true is the one, and this being or thing remains unchanging and undifferentiated. All change and difference are derivative and non-existent, such that the world of our experience consists of illusion. Thus, the experience afforded to us by the senses is completely false, and only reason, the intellect, is capable of grasping the true nature of reality. Parmenides says, being, it is ungenerated and indestructible, whole, of one kind and unwavering, and complete, nor was it ever, nor will it ever be, since now it is, altogether, one, continuous. It certainly seems to be the case that Parmenides was a monist. He definitely adheres to the idea that at base there is only one substance in the cosmos. What's more, the one is the only truth, everything else being the product of illusion and opinion. This makes Parmenides doubt the senses, a sentiment that will stick with philosophy for centuries to come. However, there are those, such as Bertrand Russell, who view Parmenides differently. They view him as being concerned with the boundaries of thought and language. Rather than professing a metaphysical position, on this account, Parmenides is saying something about the way we speak of things. When we refer to an object using the word for it, and we can do this at one time or another, we must be referring to the same object. The object must, in a sense, remain the same, for if it constantly changed, it would cease to be the thing to which we referred to. Our judgment thereupon depends on this: is it or is it not? Surely it is adjudged, as it must be, that we are to set aside the one way as unthinkable and nameless, and that the other path is real and true, says Parmenides. This account says that Parmenides' concern was primarily logical, and his cosmology was merely a tool to communicate this logical analysis to a Greek tradition that thought metaphysically. But ultimately, Parmenides was trying to show that things cannot be in a state of flux, as Heraclitus would have it. Otherwise, words would not refer or make sense. However, seeing as our language does indeed connect with the world, there must be the static and the stable, the permanent and unchanging. Some interpreters of Parmenides go further, claiming that he was not actually a metaphysical monist, but a predicative one. This notion is developed by Patricia Curd, who states that what Parmenides is actually up to is stating that in order for a thing to exist in a genuine way, it must have one single account of what it is. However, we can have many of these kinds of things in the universe. It's just that each one will have its own strictly unified set of predicates, which makes up the account of what the thing is. As Curd puts it, if an object is F, it must be all, only, and completely F. On this account, there is likely no cosmological monism at all, but this idea misinterprets the subtlety of Parmenides' key point, that many things do exist, but there is only one account of each thing, which remains stable and everlasting. On any interpretation, it's very clear that Parmenides stands in stark contrast to Heraclitus. For Heraclitus, any being owes its constancy and stability to a primordial change in its constituent matter, whereas for Parmenides, this is not possible. There is only the one, and any appearance of change is exactly that, nothing but appearance. However, there is another interpretation, and that's that language simply wouldn't function at all were words not able to attach to something static and stable. It's difficult to pinpoint which interpretation best fits Parmenides' poem though. It's likely there'll never be a definitive answer on this question, but one thing is for sure, the mystery surrounding Parmenides' poem has carried a huge influence. His unwillingness to think in the way his contemporaries thought became a key trait throughout the development of Western philosophy. The greatest thinkers were also the most novel. Whatever you think Parmenides was, whether he was the most radical of monists or some sort of ancient analytic philosopher, his influence is something that is universally accepted.